Welcome to Pigskins and Pageantry, a podcast dedicated to all things SEC football. My name is Wes, and I'd like to invite you to join me, Jesse, and Matt each week as we discuss last week's games, news from around the league, the big games this weekend, and more. And what's up, everybody? It's Wes. It's great to be on the show with everybody here, and today I get to see the faces of my co-hosts because we're doing our first video podcast. So exciting times. Excited to do this, and so if you're just listening to audio only, you're missing out. So we'll get this up. We're going to do a YouTube link and get that going once we're done with the show here. But as always, joining me, what's going on, Jesse? How are you?
I'm doing great. I think if we've learned anything from this past week, we learned who was low down, who was dirty, and who was some snitches.
Here we go.
And that, I think that's what everyone needed to learn in 2020. Take that home with you.
Does Matt look like he's about to attend a garbage truck worker convention?
He looks like he went to a garbage truck worker.
We're starting already. What's going on, Matt?
Okay,
God's fired.
Hold on.
Hi, Matt.
Hold on. No. Look, if we're gonna play hardball, let's play hardball. All right.
Matt just did the equivalent of taking off his earrings, but he doesn't have earrings.
Not quite.
What's going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm great. Dog just ran in here. I'm in my bunker of solitude and depression, so I'm doing fantastic.
Well,
fantastic.
We're just trading.
We're
trading weeks there. I was there last week, so the only
Remind me of the meme where it's like the dog and everything's on fire, and he's like, "It's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything is fine." We're not firing coaches in the middle of football games. We're good. We're completely fine.
The only commonality with our misery is, I guess, the Bama steamroller, unfortunately. So, yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, let's go ahead and talk about those games from last week.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
All right, the first game we had last week was Auburn at Ole Miss. Auburn won this one 35-28. I got the point in this one. Matt and I were in a tiebreaker, and I won that one. So, well, I got to take what I can get. So,
you were winning.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. So we're getting
now.
We're what? We're close to like midpoint in the season, like regular season. And so, who knows? They're loaded more at the end of the season. So I want to get these 1-pointers now, right? So we'll see how it goes.
Don't we get 2 if we guess the score like dead on?
Oh, yes. Yes. Direct on, you get an extra point. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so another wild Auburn game, huh? And first of all, before I get there, let's just talk about the strategy of the game a little bit. So I was listening to them talk about this game a little bit, and apparently there have been complaints in the past weeks of Bo Nix leaving the pocket a little too early, maybe just leaving without even being pressured and just kind of rolling out and doing his own thing. But it kind of seemed like this week they were like, okay, if you're going to do that, we're just going to make it part of the game plan. So they had some design quarterback rollouts by Chad Morris. He designed those, and he seemed to be a little bit more comfortable with that. I mean, just showcasing his ability that way. Huge game by Tank Bigsby. I mean, look at the stats on him: 24 carries, 129 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The dude has the proper name for a running back in the SEC. I'll give him that. So, but as we've said many times, controversy following Auburn, and this week was no different. So let's kind of break it down a little bit. Ole Miss is leading this game 28-17 with 5 minutes 43 left in the game, and the kickoff appears to graze the return man for Auburn on his pinky. I think it was his left pinky. I don't remember, but it rolled into the end zone. Yes.
Pinky up.
Pinky's up. That's right. It rolled into the end zone, and the guy didn't try to retrieve it. He just sort of, I wonder if he knew, and he was just like, maybe if I act like I didn't touch it,
Yeah, you gotta sell it.
Solid strategy.
I mean, that's what they do in soccer. Nobody touches them, and they're like, "Oh, hold your head, fall backwards." Like,
exactly.
Sell it.
Just flop. Yeah, exactly. But so he doesn't try to recover it. Who knows what could have become of that? Obviously, that was a huge opportunity for Ole Miss there. Instead, they trade possessions. Auburn does take the lead on a pretty spectacular play, 58-yard pass from Bo Nix to Seth Williams. Great catch and yards after the catch. And that happened with 1 minute 11 left in the game. And ultimately was the deciding factor. Obviously Lane Kiffin not happy with that call. They reviewed it, or they decided to take a look at it, and they decided not to change anything. So obviously he wasn't happy. He tweeted about it, and because of his criticism, he received a $25,000 fine. Although the SEC did concede that they made an error in that. So, Auburn 3-2, but as we'll talk about a little bit even more later, they could easily be 1-4. Matt, I want to start with you. What's your thoughts on this game? Obviously, more controversy following Auburn. What do you think?
Once again, Auburn showcases why they're one of the luckiest teams in the history of football. Period. Point blank. That's the tweet. End of it. Because luck? There's no. It's got to be either luck or there's some nefarious forces going on that are of a supernatural nature.
Nefarious
I'm not sure which.
Forces from bovines.
So the sweater vests have apparently been burned enough.
Sweater vests have been burned for cows.
Yeah. But here's the kicker though.
I'm picturing that in my head, by the way.
They have those.
Come on. Not to put too fine a point on it, but we also have to remember Ole Miss turned the ball over twice in this game. So you take that into account as well. And we've been saying it for the last 4 weeks. You can't turn the ball over in SEC play. You just can't. And when you do, it's hard to make up for it. Trust me, I'm a Tennessee fan. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to turnovers. So that's really probably what the death knell of Ole Miss was in this game. By the way, how funny is it that Lane Kiffin decided that he said, I think he tweeted it or said somewhere that he was going to pay his $25,000 fine in pennies. That's how petty.
And
Lane
he
Kiffin
would
is.
Because he's petty.
He totally would.
He would go to the bank and be like, I need 25,000 in pennies.
And how many truckloads would you need for that?
A lot. Something else that kind of popped off is Nix looks like he's excuse me, gotten a little bit better this week. It seems like he had a better stat line as far as that goes. 23 for 30 for 238 yards and a touchdown. It's not a bad day.
Was it Bo Nix that we were talking about? Was it last week or a couple weeks ago? I can't remember, but it was like we kept saying you need to play to his strengths. He's not the guy that's going to do, and I can't remember if it was Bo Nix or not, but it was like you were mentioning at the top, Wes. If he's going to, escape the pocket and kind of dip out early, make it a rollout and kind of play to his strengths, because I don't know if it worked, but it worked,
Right.
Like I'm not sure that that's the game plan going forward, but Ole Miss doesn't have a defense. So why not?
I think they're kind of learning, especially with his sophomore season, experiencing that sophomore slump. I think they're trying whatever to kind of kickstart his game, and I think that definitely worked. So, but yeah. Jesse, did you have any more thoughts on this game in particular?
I mean, I think everybody knows what my feelings are when it comes to an Auburn last-minute play. They're not great. I don't approve.
Or last minute of either half.
Last minute of either half. Last second of either half. Okay.
Jesse, you have this irrational hatred of Auburn, and it makes no sense to me.
I know.
I think for an Alabama fan, that's pretty rational. I mean, it just kind of comes with the territory.
Yeah.
I'm in therapy for it. It's okay. I was a student in 2013 there. All right.
Oh, right.
I had to watch.
Wait, what? Hold on. Time out. What happened in 2013?
Make her
you can
say
watch
it.
Sports Center. They still play it. It's fine.
They do all the time. It seems like
they do every highlight reel that's on there. And like, I get it was like that one thing that's never going to happen again. But like, I'm triggered. So I need you to stop, ESPN. Okay. I had to stop watching Sports Center for a year, which is really hard as someone who was at that time sports broadcasting.
Well, I would just like to say that as a Georgia fan, the prayer of Jordan Hare, I didn't think anything was going to top that, and I just appreciate you guys doing that to take the heat off a little bit, at least.
Hold our beer. Hold our beer. It's fine. We got you. I remember watching the prayer at Jordan Hare. Like we were at my friend's place, and we just kept going, Did you see that? Of course that would happen to
Just
Georgia. Ha,
knock
ha,
it
ha.
down.
We were like, we spoke too soon. I actually had
Yeah.
tickets to the Kick Six game with one of my old roommates, and I
Yeah.
turned it down.
Aren't you glad you did?
Thank God.
Yes.
I also was going to go to the Ole Miss game in Oxford the first year they beat us and they tore down the goalpost.
Right.
I decided with my roommate that morning at like 8 a.m. not to go, and because it's a short drive from Tuscaloosa. Oh my God! Thank God.
You just have a history of being selective with the right games. It seems like.
I know. I'm like, I don't know how that happened, but no, this game. Now, granted, Alabama was close when it came to Ole Miss too, or not this close, but still closer than we wanted to be. And so, I don't want to talk too much bad things about Auburn because at the end of the day, this could happen with us. So, like, I'm gonna reserve all judgment and not say like, oh, they suck, blah blah, they're not as good. I know. I see Matt's face. You guys can't see it if you're not watching, but I think too it's interesting. If it were me at the beginning of the season, and we're not that far in, but I almost thought that maybe Bo Nix, if he did well and he kept accelerating where I thought he might be, he could be in a Heisman talk, and I don't see that at all.
Yeah, not this year. No.
No.
Now give him another year. I mean, he may develop.
Right.
I mean,
I think he showed flashes last year, and I think a lot of some receivers helped him out last year too. But I mean, it is a team thing, so we'll see how things go.
It's also a coaching thing. Gus
Right.
is a very wishy-washy guy.
Man, can you guys imagine what people would be saying if Auburn was 1-4 right now, which they easily could be?
I bet old Gus's sweater he'd have to take the sweater vest off because he'd be too hot from that seat, probably.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean, they were this close to being 1-4.
Yeah, they really were.
That close. So, and Gus Malzahn's buyout is huge.
Yeah, that's
everybody's
true.
buyout is huge. Have you seen a small buyout in the last 10 years since Saban showed up? Nope.
Right, but the boosters, if they feel that it needs to happen, the money will just appear. So
it magically comes out of nowhere.
Right.
It's fine.
All right, let's go ahead and move on from that one to number 2 Alabama at Tennessee. Sorry, Matt, but Bama did win this one 48-17. Matt and Jesse both got a point in this one because even the tiebreaker and this one came out to be the same differential. So congrats to you both on that one.
Couldn't even let me have that one, could you, Jesse? You just couldn't let me have at least one thing. That's cool. That's fine. That's fine. So
to be honest, I don't really.
I'm putting my hat back on the right way.
Yeah.
I don't do the math when I do my guesses because I'm not great at math. So I just like go with my heart and then hope that Wes figures it out. So I don't ever know that our differential is the same.
Right. Yeah. Well, so you both had the same differential between the winning score and for the winning team and the losing team. So at that point, it was like, all right, so I'm going to measure so the winning score of the actual game with the winning score that you picked, subtract those, and then the losing score of the losing team of the actual game, and then the losing score that you picked. Add those together and then see what the differential is, and it ended up being the same for you both. So
that's so much math.
It's convoluted, and I probably didn't explain it very well, but whatever. All right, so I don't really know who to go with first here. So Jesse, since you guys won, I'll let you go first, and then Matt, you can have the rebuttal.
It's not. What am I going to rebut? Hey, we lost.
That's right.
We'll get them next time.
Or
25 years from now when we can actually compete. Anyway, go ahead, Jesse.
I'm doing well. I'm happy. I think this game, obviously, first off, want to say Waddle. Sorry, bud. Sorry, bud. That hurts. That's such a loss for us. I mean, a huge loss. And I believe it was David Pollock. I want to talk to you for a minute. Okay. To say that we are done now.
I heard that.
It for Bama. Rude.
Did he really say that?
He said that multiple times.
Oh, David.
I was like, that's a bold move for you to say. But you know what? Sit back. It's fine. You clearly haven't looked at our depth, but okay. That's fine. So not a huge fan of David right now. Anywho, but do wish speedy recovery to Jalen, because that is a huge loss for us. And hate to see that in this season when he was doing so well. But yeah, scored 48-17. Sorry, Matt, I'm not saying this to make you feel bad.
There's nothing to say. I mean, it is what it is.
It truly was a third Saturday in October, which is a great time. But yeah, I mean, Mac Jones finished 25 for 31 for 387 yards. He left the game in the fourth, which thank God. Najee Harris had 3 touchdowns, and our offense racked up 587 yards for an average of 7.7 yards per play, which is huge. And I think, Wes, you brought this up to me. We were talking about it, and I don't want to jinx anything, so knock on wood. But Mac Jones is looking very similar to where Joe Burrow was last year.
Statistically, it's a fact, whether you want to say it's a jinx or not. It's just the stats are there.
Yeah.
That's a spicy meatball right there, Jesse. You may want to chill out with that kind of talk.
I know. Oof, I know. I dipped my toe in. I'm back out. I'm out of that
pool. Get out of that water.
I'm not saying anything's going to come of it, but the stats are there. I mean, that's you can't argue that.
They are.
So.
And it's funny, I'm looking on Twitter at my friends that are also alum, and we're like, to those people that were like, oh, Mac Jones at the beginning of the season, who are now like, Mac Jones, we're like, we knew. We were comfy. We knew. So to those people, come on, have a little faith.
So,
but I want to go back to David Pollock. We were stacked at wide receiver. I mean, we've done great in recruiting. We have guys in depth, and it was also awesome.
And what exactly did David Pollock say, Jesse?
He said that we were done, that the loss of Jalen Waddle, he's like, Bama's done. Against who? David, who? Mississippi State? Don't feel too bad about that one. LSU? Lols. Auburn?
Yeah.
That one always makes me nervous. I don't want to say anything. I'm not going to say that. I mean, who?
Jesse,
I know. I know. I need to calm down.
Playing with fire here.
As your friend, I'm going to tell you, you need to calm down. You need to chill out a little bit.
But guys, who out of those, at least? I mean, Auburn is always iffy, but like, do you see Miss State coming for us? Do you see LSU?
It's going to have to be some
right
kind
now?
of special thing to happen, I think, for any of those teams to really have anything for Bama. Something's going to have to be like weird about the game itself. Maybe the weather's going to be weird, or it's going to take something like that.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. But another guy I do want to point out is John Mechie. I mean, great game, great way to step up. So I am confident in the weapons that we do have sitting behind Jalen Waddle. I think we're going to do better. We still have Najee Harris, thank God. But I'm excited for this Bama offense. I'm very, very excited for this Bama offense. The defense, I think, stepped up as well. I think they did very, very well against a Tennessee offensive line too. That has been pretty strong. I mean, stronger than they were. Yeah, no, you guys can't see it. I'm like reacting to Matt because I can see it.
Look, no, I'm gonna go ahead, Jesse. Finish.
That's what I have. I mean, I'm not gonna like go in too much, but I'm very excited about what this team brings, and I think they're doing a really good job of filling in the gaps that we had last year where we were like, we didn't finish the way we wanted. And I think that team is carrying that mantra through, and they're really taking it to heart, and I appreciate that. And I do appreciate beating Tennessee. It always feels good.
Secretary Matt, your response.
There's no response. There's no response. Listen, fact of the matter is Bama's solid top to bottom. There's no negating that. And I can sit here and make excuses and come up with little quips and jokes and sarcastic comments. But at the end of the day, Bama's a solid team. There's no getting around that. They're well coached. They're well trained. They develop players. They do a lot of things that teams in the SEC wish they could do. And as a matter of fact, that's what they do. So they beat the tar out of us. 587 total yards to 302. You're talking about a big split between offenses there. I don't know what's going on with Tennessee. I can't begin to describe what's going on at Tennessee. If we had talked 2 weeks ago, I'd have told you I feel pretty good about things. We got beat by Georgia. Georgia's a solid team, too. They got one of the best defenses in the nation. And then we lay an egg against Kentucky, and then we get drummed by Bama. I mean,
what was the score
else
last year? And I don't ask this like in a mean way, but what was the differential last year to this year?
Let's see. Hold on 2 seconds.
It was less, wasn't it? Wasn't the difference? Because y'all were pretty close at half, I think.
I think it was 35-13 was the final
score.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe a little bit of a regression on that particular part, but let me get on my soapbox for a minute, because I know this is what everybody's been looking forward to, especially when they know that I'm about to talk about Tennessee. If you're a member of Vault Twitter,
I love when you address Vault Twitter so much.
If you're a member of Vault Twitter, I need you to shut the hell up, because here's what's going on, guys. Y'all are panicking because you're saying, oh, Pruitt's awful. He's just another Botch Jones. Blah, blah, blah. Shut up. You go back. Somebody pointed out something interesting the other day. If you go back and you look at Johnny Majors' record in the 5 years before we went to our first big bowl with him, it was similar, like 3-7 and 5-5 and what have you. Like, they weren't good records those first 5 years, because you got to give people some time. I'm not saying Pruitt's the guy. I'm not saying that. I don't know if Pruitt's the guy. It's still too early to say. But these people on Twitter are being like, we got to fire everybody. We need to fire Jim Chaney. We need to fire this person. Guarantano needs to be just shot and tarred and feathered. It's no, chill out. We're tired of getting our butts kicked. I agree. I'm sick of it too. But at the end of the day, you got to let the thing develop. I just don't get it. It makes no sense to me.
It's the Saban effect.
It's the effect of Nick Saban and the whole, I need to win a natty now.
Yeah, well, I think
even in 2007 when we got him, he got there in 2007, and we lose, and everyone just loses their minds, and they're like, "You were going to be the guy," and he's like, "Relax."
Right. And who did they lose to? They lost to like an FCS school or something, didn't they?
I guess it was like
State or something.
Utah. It was like Utah or something.
Utah.
Oh wow, yeah.
It wasn't great, but everyone lost their minds, and it's like, what do you? I mean, think of it in this way: when you go into a new job, and you're like, "All right, I'm new job, new people, new team, new client, whatever it is," you don't just turn it around all of a sudden. It takes time to develop, and that's just an office job. These guys are dealing with like 18-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
Try to turn 18-year-olds around. Try to do that.
Yeah.
Especially ones that have been told they're great their whole lives.
Mm. Well, the fact of the matter is that I wasn't shocked by this drubbing. I appreciate Nick Saban calling the dogs off and not putting a 50 burger up in Neyland. So thanks, Nick. I appreciate that. You did us a solid.
Had Lane Kiffin been coaching your team, he would have 100%.
Oh, it would have been like 63-20. No, I get that. No, Nick, he probably would have burned a mattress at the end of the game in the middle of the field just for kicks and giggles. But again, if Tennessee can kind of right the ship here, then I think we're still in line for, I mean, going forward, the season doesn't get any easier. We still got to play Auburn. We still got to play Florida. We still got to play a couple other teams. And it's one of those things where if everybody will just chill out and relax, let this thing work itself out. And if we don't have a good, successful season like we did last season, then we try again. I mean, I don't understand that mentality of we need to fire Pruitt. We need to fire Pruitt right now.
Well, who are they saying they would want?
That's the thing. Nobody's got an answer to that question. They're all like, we need to fire Pruitt. Well, who are you going to bring it? That guy. Who's that? What?
It took a long time to get Pruitt.
It did. And Vault Twitter went crazy at all the other choices. The whole Schiano debacle. And look, to a certain extent, I don't blame them for, a guy they weren't familiar with. But to be fair, he's actually turning Rutgers around right now. So, I mean, who knows? Now, look, is Pruitt the guy? I don't know, but he's more the guy than anybody who's been the coach there in the past 20 years. Would you agree with that? Yeah. So, I think, like you said, agree completely. You got to give the guy time. On the Bama side of things, I don't agree with Pollock. I don't think that just because Waddle's out, they can't win. Look, if you're a Bama fan, you got plenty of offense to look forward to. You've got Smith, you've got Mechie. They've even been talking about Slade Bolden as a guy who's going to slide into the slot as a favorite there to do well. So the offense, I mean, again, I think I say this almost every week, but it's like an embarrassment of riches for Bama. And that's no coincidence because they recruit well. So there's lots more waiting in the wings. So we'll see who steps up. So
Wes, can we take 2 seconds?
So,
can we take a second and talk to David Pollock for just a moment?
Yes,
go for it.
Okay, David, if you're listening to me, baby, I need you to listen, okay? I need you to stop talking crap about people. Because every time I turn on the TV and David Pollock's sitting there announcing a football game, he is talking so much garbage about folks. And I don't understand where this is coming from. Because the David Pollock I knew, not like literally knew, but the guy that I listened to interviews and understood him to be the person when he came out of college, sounded like a pretty decent guy. This David Pollock's coming off a little bit like a tool bag.
I don't really know what's up with that. And it seems to be like
put a suit on and put gel in his hair. He just gets sassy.
I don't know if it's that or if it's like ESPN saying like, look, dude, we need somebody to be really controversial and you got a lot of spirit. So we need you to be that guy. Because I agree. So it's in years past.
Kirby's mean too. They can just let him do it.
They are trying to build ESPN's version of Gary Danielson.
Oh gosh, no, nobody needs another.
And
one
I want to state unequivocally for the record, ESPN, I do not need another Gary Danielson.
We've got all. We've got enough.
Joe Buck already has that going. There's already another one out there. A younger version.
Too.
Hey, at least the CBS booth got a little bit better without Vern, but man, it's still bad.
It got a little more accurate without Vern because then at least the right players' names were being used.
Oh man, I was all right with Uncle Vern. He's fifth away in the bottle of bourbon.
I didn't hate his announcing on some other stuff. I thought he was okay on the Masters. He had some great calls for Tiger Woods, etc. But man, the football games, especially there towards retirement, it was pretty bad.
I don't think he paid attention.
Yeah,
towards
I think
the end,
so.
he was like, "I'll just call the kid a name. His name might be Tyler," and it's like, no.
And Gary's like, so.
Gary's like, "I'm just going to talk bad about everybody." Like, cool, sounds good.
All right, let's get to Kentucky.
Why did y'all even bring him up? Because God Almighty, he's just the absolute worst.
The best is people that are like, Gary Danielson loves Alabama. I'm like, are you kidding me? Gary Danielson, first of all, hates everybody.
He can, and it's almost like, I don't know, it's like when I hear him talk, it's like it's very apparent that he values his opinion very much, no matter what it is. Like he's the expert, like nobody else. And
he's the guy that, like, I'm sure when he was younger was like, my dad's a lawyer.
Yeah, and I'm like, I get it.
Cool.
He played.
Cool.
He has a certain level of knowledge, but wow, it's just it's not good. It's not good. Now I for that too.
The worst.
All right,
get that censor what button ready there, Wes.
Since we're doing the video thing now, I'm gonna have to learn how to do that. So thanks a lot. So
you're welcome. You said it say something really inflammatory.
That's true. All right, Kentucky at Mizzou. Mizzou won this one 20-10. Matt, you were the only one to pick them, so you get the point, my friend.
Told you. I told you.
So, man,
Revenge of the nerd.
If you look at these stats, I mean, this game was lucky it wasn't even more out of hand favor Mizzou. But I mean, we talked about Kentucky and their defense and everything that they've done. But apparently, Kentucky got Kentuckied in this game. And so I did a little research. Kudos to Ryan Walters, who is the defensive coordinator for Mizzou. Coach Drinkwitz decided to keep him when he came on. So I guess that was one wise decision that he's made so far. But yeah, the scheme that he came up with in this game, I mean, obviously it worked. I mean, let's just compare and you're going to see why I said they're lucky it's not more lopsided, because Mizzou had 421 total yards to Kentucky's 145. Mizzou had 0 turnovers. Kentucky turned it over once. Time of possession, 43. Well, yeah. And then time of possession, 43 minutes for Mizzou to 16 minutes and 50. I mean, if you have the ball for 16 minutes and 50 seconds, like you're you're lucky to make it a game, right? And then first
We literally
downs.
had it for like one quarter.
Right. Yeah.
That
And
was
then
it.
first downs, 26 for Mizzou, 8 for Kentucky. So, this was just a lopsided game, all around good performance for Mizzou. And so, I mean, Mizzou, I mean, they've surprised some people this year, including Kentucky, obviously. But Matt, I want to start with you this time. But what did you think about this game? Is Mizzou kind of a sleeper? Are they just like maybe better than we thought, or like what's going on?
No, Jesse's making the same face I am. Listen,
I just asked the questions.
You're right. That's right. You asked the questions, and I'm going to give you the straight answer here. This is what we call a hangover game.
Yeah.
Kentucky won a big game at Neyland. Their
Historic.
first win in Neyland State, 1984. And so, and again, I don't know what the preparation of Kentucky's team was this week, but I'm going to make an assumption that the boys were feeling a little good about themselves, about finally putting that ghost in the out to the window. So as a result, laid an egg. I mean, and if you look at the stat line, it's awful. I mean, Missouri gets 421 yards to Kentucky's 145. Time possessions, 43 minutes for Missouri, 16 minutes for Kentucky. A domination across the board, top to bottom, and it's a hangover. Now, if you take the hangover out of the aspect, I think this game's a little bit closer. Kentucky probably edges them. But I'm telling you, that's what happened. Kentucky they got caught napping. And that's what happens sometimes after you win a big emotional rivalry game where you go into the next week thinking, all right, we're great. We've exorcised those demons, but now we just laid another egg. And that's exactly what Kentucky did right here.
Yeah. Jesse, when your quarterback throws for 35 yards and your leading rusher has 48 yards, it's pretty hard to win a game, huh?
It's not great. It's not going to be easy. I mean, if you would have been like, yeah, our quarterback, we actually put a bandana over his eyes and he was able to throw that. And then our rusher, we put cement blocks on his feet. Cool. Then that sounds great. In this game, not so great. I think Matt hit the nail on the head. You get overconfident. You win that game that's been hanging over you. And then you look back at other games and you see Mizzou and you're like, everybody else took care of it. It's fine for the most part. And then you get in there and don't drink the rat poison, boys. Don't drink the rat poison. I mean, our Lord and Savior, Nick Saban. Don't do it. Don't do it. I feel bad. But at the end of the day, going back to your question, is Mizzou better than we thought? No, they beat Kentucky and they only beat them by 10 points.
It should have been a lot more.
They're not better. It should have been a lot more. Yeah, it absolutely should have been a lot more. But I don't think Mizzou has that caliber in them to win by more, to be honest with you. I mean, the scheme they drew up is great. They did a good job, but I don't think Mizzou is right now the real deal.
Right.
By the way, do we have any idea where Kentucky's ranked nationally right now in defense?
I don't. I'm not sure what the overall.
Missouri. I meant to say Missouri.
Oh,
not
Mizzou.
Kentucky.
I'm not sure of either one of them. Statistically,
not great.
That's the thing is, Kentucky's offense throughout the years looked all right, and then they come in and they get a measly 145.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think that they read the newspapers or Twitter or whatever, and everybody's saying how great they are and all this historic win and blah blah blah. And
well, when your coach says, "I'm going to go drink bourbon and smoke a cigar," it's like
that's fine if you do it for that day. But man, when you let that bleed over into the following week, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's not your motivational speech going into next week. You're not saying we just beat the balls. That's not your speech. Right. Listen, Stoops. Let's have a moment. Don't say that. These 18 to 22-year-old guys, they're going to be like, yeah, I'm the man. No. Bring them back down. Let's keep the ego in check. Let's bring them down. Let's say, hey, you know what? Just because you won that one, you're not going to necessarily win this one. Let's do better. Let's practice. Let's get our head in the game. We'll enjoy this for 24 hours, and then we got to move on. Because it doesn't matter what you did last week when you're going into this week. It doesn't matter.
Right. I'm pretty confident that Stoops probably going into Sunday that next day probably was immediately like game face on, but I don't know if he was able to get the boys to be game faced.
Yeah,
I just
not sure if that translated.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think it did. And so I think that was the big and I think we all are in agreement. That was the big problem here. That's the reason why Kentucky laid an egg here against a team that is, not that great.
But it's a big step in maturity for these guys and realizing that can happen. And, if they're ever put in that position again, hopefully each one of these guys will respond a little bit differently, and not just assume that they're, king of the world or whatever, however good they are.
Look at LSU right now. Defending natty champs. You can't be like, look at our season. And then you come into this season, it's like, oh. I mean, yes, they're without Joe Burrow and a lot of their guys. But at the same time, I'm sure those guys came, the returning players came into the season. They're like, hell yeah, look at us. Do you see our season?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of complacency. And yeah, for sure.
Especially in a season right now that's going to have an asterisk next to it. They're like, oh, we're playing all in conference. It's fine. We know what these guys do. But just because you know what everybody does doesn't mean it's going to make it any easier. It might make it harder.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of LSU, let's go ahead and talk about them. We got South Carolina at LSU. LSU just absolutely laying the smack down, 52-24. I was the only one to pick LSU, so I got the point in this one. So yeah, LSU, they're back at 500 at 2-2. So, a little reprieve. They still got a tough schedule. I mean, we've watched them struggle against the teams that they've struggled against, and it makes the rest of the season not look so easy. So, Jesse, let's start with you this time. What do you think about LSU? And I mean, obviously, this was a must-win for them, I think, right?
I think so. I think this was a huge must-win for them. But honestly, I mean, I live in Carolina now. I'm like an hour away from Columbia, so I'm surrounded by Carolina fans. And if you saw SEC shorts, it's so real, y'all. It is so real. I feel so bad for these people because there's so much hope that swells up inside them, and then it gets crushed. But then they still hang on to it. And I'm just like, your mental strength, truly amazing. Because I picked them last week. I was like, oh, they're going to roll through LSU. They had like another win. They're doing okay. Like, first of all, if you're a betting man or woman, do not bet on South Carolina. Chances are you're going to lose money. And as someone who was just in Vegas, it's really sad when people lose money. So don't do that. But yeah, huge win for LSU right now. That season was not going well. They were struggling. And I'm not saying they're done struggling. I'm just saying they needed this little bit of boost of a confidence. And will your seat warmed up again? We had turned the dial down just a little bit. They cranked that one on up because I think everyone was like, oh, maybe except for Wes, was like, yeah, they're gonna beat LSU. It's gonna be fine. It wasn't fine. It was not, and it wasn't just by a little bit. It was bad.
Yeah, that's the thing. The way that it happened is probably the worst.
Carolina fans.
But see, here's the bad thing. You talk about how they get their hopes up only to get crushed. You basically just described a light version of a Georgia fan. Okay, so how do you think that makes me feel?
Because that's cute, Wes.
At
it's
least
really cute.
they're not losing on
Same.
like a national stage. Granted, all games are televised nationally now, but you know what I mean.
Get to a national stage. These people don't.
Thank you. You know what I would do to get 10 wins right now, Wes? Do you have any idea what the Tennessee fan base would do to get 10? Do you know what Carolina fans would do to get to 10?
And SEC sports, when they're like, you're just checking the Belk Bowl Twitter, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
But you do
get
free clothes at the Belk Bowl, so that's fun.
Yeah. I guess what I meant by light is that the degree of disappointment, like as a Georgia fan,
Wes. Just backpedal, buddy.
As a Georgia fan, you're up here. You're like, oh yeah, we're gonna really get the big game.
You have further to fall.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You do.
You've ascended to a greater height, so you're falling a greater distance. Is what I'm talking about here. So.
Yes, buddy. Stop.
Okay, we're getting out of this. Current pick'em standings. No, I'm just kidding. Did anybody else have anything else to say on that one?
Yeah, well, I got something to say. Muschamp, what are you doing, baby? Come on. Because what? LSU's been floundering pretty much all season, and then you get absolutely drummed by them.
I was surprised.
I don't listen, ladies. If you're listening, all two of you, if you're listening to this, you need to get you a man that's a Carolina fan, because if they can be loyal to Carolina, they will be loyal to you forever. I mean, tell me I'm wrong.
I need a little.
Can the name of this
Carolina
episode just be "Ladies, Get You a Carolina"?
I need like a little music for that while Matt says that. That's
little date night music.
Yeah.
Date tips from Matt.
Yeah, dating tips from Matt. I mean, but honestly, Will.
Yeah.
I want to have advice for him, and I don't. I don't know what to say. Carolina fans, you had advice for the ladies. Carolina fans, I kid you not, it wasn't this past week, but the week before, I went to a bar and was watching the Alabama game. Table behind me was Carolina fans, and they're like, "You Bama fans?" We're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Carolina fans," and I was like, "Cool." And they're like, "We're you see, we won some," and I'm like, "Great job, great." Like, and we were having this weird conversation, and they're like, "Bama could lose," and I'm like, "That's what you want to start with? That's where we're going with this?" Okay. It was just the weirdest. I don't know. It was a weird sports conversation I had, and I was like, "I'm afraid for Will Muschamp," and they're like, "I think he's going to steer us right," and I'm like, "Oh, really?" Weird. Maybe they were the offshoot fans, but
maybe
I was like, I would not be confident in him.
Yeah, I think Matt, you said you got a buddy who's a fan, right? And he's refused to watch until they fire him.
Yeah, one of my coworkers. Every time I see him, I'm like, "Hey, how's it going, dude?" And he's like, "I ain't watching crap until they fire that man."
Yeah,
I'm like, "You better hope they back up the Brinks truck." Holy crap, talking is hard because his buyout's not cheap.
Right.
I just want to know who they would get. I don't know who they would get right now.
That's
I mean, the coaching carousel hasn't started, but
you can't make that decision right now because we haven't seen enough. I mean,
yeah, there's so many teams that
considering that idea
want to make a change, but as we said with Tennessee, and it doesn't matter what team you're talking about right now, who you're going to get. There's not like a home run hire out there, or just somebody who's just chilling in the middle of 2020, like, yeah, I'm ready for a.
They bring Urban Meyer back.
Yes.
Or they go poach Mac Brown from North Carolina, because you've seen Mac Brown's turn into a contender in the ACC.
Too bad.
Yeah, they did lose to FSU, but
but Carolina competing with that. Well, FSU's awful now.
But I mean,
disregard. I don't know what I'm talking
They were
about.
number 5 in the nation according to AP a couple of weeks ago, or a week or two ago. When's the last time you saw that from Carolina? So
exactly
doing good things. So.
Not in basketball, something other than
basketball. Not basketball, right? All right, so that does it for last week's games. Current pick'em standings: I've got 11. Jesse and Matt both have 7. As I said, though, long season. We'll see what happens. So, all right, so let's get into our only news item of the day.
Here's the news.
All right, so AP poll, our SEC numbers are dwindling in the AP poll, unfortunately, but they are within the top 10, so that's the good news. So number 2, Bama, number 5, Georgia, number 8, Texas A&M, and number 10, Florida. Obviously, since the Big Ten is back in the mix, everybody's, giddy with excitement that they're back playing. So I think we've had, was it Ohio State that jumped in front of Georgia? I think they're number 3, I believe it was. Let's see.
It's just because they're we'll just put them there.
Ohio State's where?
Ohio State is number 3. So it goes Clemson, Bama, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Georgia, Okie State, Cincinnati Bearcats at number 7, Aggies at 8, Badgers at 9, and the Gators at 10.
Matt, thank you for raising your hand.
Yeah. I have a question.
Yes.
Why?
Why is
which
Cincinnati
one? Be more specific.
Why is Ohio State even in the top 4 right now?
It's
they haven't.
The Kool-Aid.
Have they
They're like
played a
Notre
game
Dame, Ohio State. Put them in there.
Now, the nice thing about Notre Dame is they got to play Clemson this year because they're in ACC. So they do have to play at least somebody.
Clemson absolutely drubs them.
But on the flip side of that, then it makes Clemson look even better. So it's kind of like you pick your poison. So,
Cincinnati, no offense to those from Cincinnati. I'm sorry. But like, really?
Number seven.
How did they come up with that? I want to know how they were like, okay, let's all right. And then we carry the 2. Okay, 7.
And
Cool.
Wisconsin at 9, so they're not even going to get to play this weekend because of COVID. Originally, they were going to have like a wide receiver playing quarterback. I don't know if you guys saw that, but like all of their quarterbacks were out with COVID. So I don't know what they were going to do. They were still going to try to play the game.
What y'all doing in Wisconsin?
I don't know. Well, maybe that was one of the cases where, you know, the quarterback room, one of them got it, and they're all watching film together, and boom. I don't know. I don't know if that's what went down or what, but yeah. So I mean, things are crazy. You know, AP.
Honestly, I'm sorry. Can I ask a question? And
Please.
and I want honest opinions because, you know, I'm a little biased if no one knows. Why is Clemson still number 1? Because at this point, we've played all SEC opponents that I feel like are good teams compared to who Clemson has played in the ACC. So I'm just curious why we're number 2.
Traditional thinking, I think, of the mindset that, okay, if a team is in a certain spot, it's going to take them losing for me to move them down. And I think we've seen that in the past a lot where, a team would play terrible, but they would eke out the win, and they would be like, oh, well, the only thing that matters is the win. So they give it to them, and they're like, well, we don't have any reason to move them down. That's the only thing I can think of, especially in AP.
It's only if you win as long as you're in the top 10. Then if it's, you almost lost by 3 points, they drop you down 5 spots.
Right. You don't sound like you're bitter at all about that.
No, I'm not bitter about that at all. Bitter about that at all. I don't have disparaging remarks to make about the AP.
Right. Well,
not at all.
The committee.
It's just interesting to me because like they're like, oh, we got to look at strength of schedule, and I'm like,
dude.
Yeah.
Are we? Do we?
Come on.
I am more and more unsure of how the committee is going to handle things as well. Number one, because of the craziness of 2020. And then also, like, I was looking at some of the members on the committee, and they have like a professor from one of the schools, like nobody even involved in sports, like just a teacher, a professor from one of the schools. One of the guys is like
our art professor is we're just gonna throw in Danny, who works in the art department. He teaches ceramics. He's really great.
Yeah. And then another guy is like some military guy, and maybe he has a sports connection. Maybe, I don't know, but
he's friends with Mike Leach.
That's got to be it, because like I looked at some of them and they're like, that doesn't even make sense, like on paper. Where did this even come from?
Can I apply to be on the committee?
I think you should, honestly, because I think, you know, according to the qualifications, it's just like
why?
Whoever.
Because then you'd know how the rankings would go. It would go Bama, Bama,
Bama,
Bama, Bama, Bama.
Yeah,
right.
Tell
me I'm wrong, Jesse.
Last. Texas A&M last.
Oh God, here we go with the
I think you have to recuse yourself. Isn't that how it goes? You have to recuse yourself when they talk about Bama. So
I think that during the interview process, they'd be like, I don't think this is going to work out.
When you show up with nothing but Bama on, and you know you say Roll Tide to everything, they're like, no, this isn't going to work out.
Now, if I would have said like Go Buckeyes to something, they'd have been like, yeah, bring her on. That sounds
on
good.
Top of
or Go Irish, they'd be like, we like her style.
Oh yeah,
we should put her in charge.
Yeah,
you're going to fit in really well around here. So yeah. All right, I think we've disparaged the AP enough. It won't be long before we can disparage the committee, though. So,
I love that.
Was it? Isn't it like the first week in December? I think I forget what the schedule was. It's coming up, but I think it's like a little over a month away, something like that.
Shouldn't be until like November, but whatever. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
It should also be 8 teams in the playoff, but again, I don't know anything.
Oh, I agree. So November 24th is the last I've seen when the first.
Oh well, then okay. At least they're waiting until then.
Is going to come out. Yeah. So
didn't the BCS back in the day used to come out like the middle of September or the middle of October?
I don't know.
It used to come out fairly early, didn't it?
I don't remember. It's been a while.
I don't
know.
It's
been a while.
To a certain extent, I wish that they would kind of have that maybe like a mix of both, because the computer algorithm obviously didn't work because we had just insane teams at the top every year in the BCS, it seemed like.
Yeah.
I wish there was some kind of way to mix them both, though, because it seems like the subjectivity of the committee gets into all that favoritism and branding, etc. So it would be nice.
Branding. Name recognition.
Absolutely. It'd be nice if there was some mixture of the two. So, Matt, you're shaking your head. What?
Yeah, because the minute you say branding, all I hear is in my brain, I can see that stupid red O. I can see that stupid little Irish fella.
Yeah.
I can see that stupid maroon O that they have out in Oklahoma. I see that stupid red and yellow USC interconnecting Trojan bull crap. Oh,
yep.
Name recognition.
Yeah. Well,
people love gold helmets. They like shiny things.
You know, what I want to know is, so we talked about Wisconsin not playing this week. You know, Big Ten was going to have the 8 games in 8 weeks format. So
much for that idea.
I was going to say, something like that happens, and then like, what then? Do we just say, and just forget about it? I don't know.
They just do what they do with the Notre Dame, who didn't have to play a conference championship, and they're like, it's okay, that's fine. Right. Nope, we'll just count that one as okay.
Well, I guess that's only fair because the Pac-12 is only playing 7 games, so they have to.
None of this works.
Well, at least we don't have to worry about the Pac-12 being in the competition for anything. So there's that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All right. Well, all right. Let's go ahead and get into our listener feedback because we actually had some interesting stuff in there.
I like one of these.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
All right. So I think this first one is just kind of a segue. Timothy Hamby says that Kiffin should be fined $25,000 every game they lose. And he had a little laughing face after that. So I don't know if that's like, okay, we've tried the carrot approach with giving you money. So now let's do the stick approach of taking money for every game that you lose.
Punitive measures when you lose a football game.
I guess
Vanderbilt's head coach.
Oh gosh, the beatings will continue until morale improves.
Yeah, Vanderbilt's head coach would be in trouble.
I don't know. He's a strong guy. I don't think anybody will threaten him.
That's true.
Derek Mason's arms are huge.
They would have to find like an even bigger person to administer that discipline, I think. So otherwise, that would be kind of terrifying. So,
but I'm all for punishing Lane Kiffin. I think it's great.
All right.
He never did anything to you. He helped Joe win a national championship, for God's sake.
He's gross.
He really is, but
who cares?
I do.
No. Listen, if you cared about people being gross, Nick Saban wouldn't be your head coach.
Oh my God, he's a lovely human. I love him in
No,
Miss Terry.
he's not. He is the devil wrapped in a human skin.
Rude.
I said it, by God.
Rude.
Okay, the next comment comes from Seth Barron, and he says Auburn should be 1-4 instead of 3-2. I'm sure Auburn will pay Kiffin's $25,000 fine. The refs have given Auburn 2 victories this year. Here's the kicker. This coming from an Auburn alum, and he had a little shocked face in there. We stink. He closes his statement with. So that's coming from an Auburn alum saying that Auburn should be 1-4.
See, but you should know, sir, you should know more than anybody. It doesn't matter because one of your prerequisite classes has to be witchcraft. So it's fine.
Yeah. Witchcraft, voodoo, something.
That's
Witchcraft 101.
Yeah.
It's real cute coming from the Bama fan.
We don't have witchcraft. We have not, and you can honestly, I don't think you can say we have not had the crazy things happen around us Auburn has.
Yeah. It was really refreshing to have some that honesty and transparency from an Auburn fan. I mean, we've all sat here and said
it.
But we're not Auburn fans, so it doesn't count, right? But we have one who has.
I'm glad they recognize it, right? Because that was my thing. Is I've always looked at them and been like, you don't see it,
Oh, trust me, there's a fair share of those, and I've had conversations with those, and they're not pleasant. So.
No, you're like, no, we're just better.
Yeah, Auburn fans are probably like, yeah, we won. Oh, yeah, we won.
Nervous laughter.
Everything's fine.
The room's on fire.
Right.
That could also be the name of the episode. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and skip on down to our next week's matchups, and we'll give our predictions.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
All right. So first up for this coming week, we've got number 5 Georgia at 3-1, at Kentucky at 2-3. That's a noon kickoff on SEC Network if you'd like to tune in. I think obviously Kentucky got a little wake-up call this week. And I think they play a little bit better this week. But I do think that the Georgia defense, obviously they had a little wake-up call of their own the last game. I think that there's been, and they had a bye week on top of that. So I think they've had a lot of time to kind of cue in on the things that were done wrong. And I think Georgia wins this one. Although I don't think it's too lopsided. I think we probably see a lot of these points scored in the first half or maybe the first 3 quarters. And then we see Georgia winning this one 28-13. Jesse?
Yeah, I think, we saw that Kentucky really couldn't hold up against the Mizzou defense. So I think with a defense like UGA, I don't think this is going to go well for Kentucky at all. I'm picking the Bulldogs 35-14.
Okay. Matt?
Yeah, that Georgia defense is just too stout. And let's be honest here, Kentucky's offense has not inspired a lot of confidence this year. So with that in mind, I think it's going to be final score UGA 28, Kentucky 3, and that 3 is going to come late.
Okay. All right, next we have LSU at 2-2, at Auburn 3-2, and that is the 3:30 CBS game. Yeah, this one, I don't know. This one could go either way, I think. Both of these teams we've watched probably struggle more than we thought they were going to this year. I think LSU, maybe that last win maybe kind of hypes them up a little bit. And even though Auburn kind of struggles, I think they make it a game. I'm going to go with LSU winning this one 31-28. Jesse, what do you got?
Yeah, this one could honestly, like you said, go either way. I struggled picking this one because I could easily change out my pick for the other one and have the same score. So I am going to say, based off of last week, which, like, as we've learned, doesn't really matter. I'm going to pick LSU 34-28.
All right, Matt. You're smirking.
You ready for this? Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this?
Go for it.
This is my Lee Corso impression. Not so fast, my friend.
He's got the pencil and everything.
I got the pencil and everything. Where's my head? Where's the head at? I don't know. I can't. Listen, Auburn has insanely lucky. No one's arguing that fact. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that Auburn can't at least hang with LSU, nope, it's not happening. I'm picking Auburn in this one. So I'm going to say Auburn wins this thing late. It's going to be 35-33.
Okay.
I got to do something. I got to do something here because I'm in the cellar with Jesse. I got to get out of here. So got to find some separation.
Well, that's fair. That's smart. I should start doing that.
It looks like no matter what happens, all of us think it's going to be pretty close. So it should be a good game. So, all right. Next we have Ole Miss at 1-4, at Vanderbilt at 0-3. Yeah, this game should have a name of some sort, but
who does Vanderbilt beat? I don't.
Nobody. Yeah.
They have no out of conference opponents this year. Who do they beat?
Yeah. That's a 4:00 kickoff on SEC Network. So obviously I'm gonna go with Ole Miss on this one. I think they have obviously tons of offense, but again, I think their defense is, as we've said, garbage. So even though Vanderbilt is down this year, I think they do get some points in, but ultimately going with Ole Miss 38-20. Jesse?
Yeah, I'm picking Ole Miss. It's like you said, their defense is kind of trash. So I do think Vanderbilt will be able to score a few points. I don't think Vanderbilt is necessarily struggling this year. I think they're exactly where we thought they would be. So I'm going to pick Ole Miss 45-24.
Yeah, they lost a lot of people on offense for sure. So not a huge surprise. Matt?
Yeah, more of the same. Vanderbilt's not going to be able to hang in this one. I think that they're going to get a couple of garbage time touchdowns to make it look closer than it really was. But Not a chance. Ole Miss 45-21.
All right. Next, we have Mississippi State at 1-3, at number 2 Alabama 5-0. 7 o'clock on ESPN, and this one is not going to be pretty. I mean, when I've just watched what both of these teams have done thus far in the season, man, Mississippi State has just struggled. I mean, their first game, looked great, but ever since then, not good. So I think Bama shuts them down. And I mean, who's going to stop their offense, especially not Mississippi State, I don't think, at this point in the game. I got Bama winning this one in a bloodbath, 41-10. Jesse?
I love that in the notes you put bloodbath.
I mean, that's it.
It should come as no surprise. I'm going to pick Bama in this one. I think that in the first half, even first 3 quarters, I think maybe Mississippi State gets 2 field goals. And then once we take out our starters in garbage time, we let them have a touchdown. So I'm going Bama 42-13.
Okay. Matt?
More of the same. I mean, Mississippi State has shown that, and I hate to say this, but I don't think Mississippi State's going to show any improvement. I just don't think they are. Really, if you want to get technical about it, if LSU had been a little bit better prepared, or if something had gone a different way, we'd be looking at an 0-4 Mississippi State team right now.
They were having a national championship hangover.
That's exactly. See, that hangover will get you every time. So I'm gonna have to go with Bama here, and I think Bama wins big. And like Jesse said, you get a couple late touchdowns in garbage time, so it's 45-14 Bama.
It's not going to happen.
It was Miss State that I was thinking of when we said that they need to start playing to their quarterback and not forcing him into a system. That's what I was talking about earlier.
Yes. Yeah. And so it's not obviously going to happen this week, unless some miracle happens, which I don't think so. But we need Mississippi State to win at some point, because I want a happy Mike Leach that somebody can ask just a ridiculous question to, and he can go off about 10 minutes on. I need that to happen. That's why we have him here. So
that's what the boosters wanted.
That's right. That's the whole point. And that's going to help recruiting. So somehow, I don't know. All right. So next we have Arkansas at 2-2, at number 8, Texas A&M at 3-1. So they're playing at 7:30 on SEC Network. Arkansas is playing tough. And ordinarily, just looking at these teams, I would say A&M, yeah, no doubter. But I think Auburn makes this one a close one. And I got, did I say Auburn?
You said
Arkansas.
Auburn.
Arkansas, one of those A teams. Arkansas.
Started with an A, you're good.
Yeah, I think Arkansas is going to make this one a close one. And I got, but I do have A&M winning 24-21. Jesse?
Yeah, I agree. I think Arkansas is waking up a little bit, and they're playing some tough football. I mean, they're getting scrappy out there. So I reluctantly pick Texas A&M, however, and I think it's gonna be close. I think it is gonna be a close one, 28-24.
It hurt a little bit, didn't it, Jesse?
It did. I'm in therapy for it.
Matt?
Listen, y'all can sit here and say that Jimbo's got this thing wrapped up. I'm gonna tell you something right now. Yes, sir. I'm picking the Hogs to it. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Just kidding. I just want an excuse to say yes, sir. By the way, I've worked that into my lexicon now. I love it, and I don't know why. Like, it makes no sense. It's awful, but I say it at work, and people look at me and they go, "What are you doing?" Anyway, listen, A&M's I think they're gonna jump out early. I think Arkansas might be able to swing back into it in third, fourth quarter. Not gonna be able to pull it off. I think A&M wins this one 24-14.
All right. And then finally, we have Mizzou at 2-2, at number 10, Florida at 2-1, 7:30 on SEC Network alternate. Yeah. So I think, like we said, Mizzou, they don't have a spectacular defense. But then, to be fair, neither does Florida, or what we've seen so far this year. I'm going to say Florida's going to score a lot, but I do think that they get scored on. I'm going to go Florida winning 35-21. Jesse?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I don't think Florida's defense is super stellar. I think we saw that when they played Texas A&M. They were running through them like Swiss cheese. But yeah, I think Florida was able to pull this one out, because I don't think Mizzou has a stellar defense necessarily either, or a super stellar offense. I mean, they only put up 20 points against Kentucky. But they do score a little bit. So I'm going to pick the Gators 35-14.
All right. Matt.
I'm not sold on Florida. I'm really not. But I don't think this Missouri team's going to be able to hang with them. We've seen Florida's offense when it clicks is really, really efficient. They're able to move the ball really well. And so I think Florida's going to end up getting big early, and they're going to stay big. So I'm going to say Florida wins this thing 42-20.
Okay. All right. Well, that does it for our games of the upcoming weekend. So now it brings us to our Just for Fun segment. And that was Halloween themed or spooky themed. And we have, if you could pick an SEC coach and decide what costume they should wear for Halloween, who would it be and what would they wear? Jesse, let's start with you.
I wanted to just feel this one. First of all, Halloween is Nick Saban's birthday, so happy birthday, Coach.
Shocker. Absolutely shocking. Really. The Devil's birthday is his birthday too. Wow.
First of all, Halloween's not the Devil's birthday, okay?
But details. It is if you.
We're not even gonna get into this because I will argue Halloween. But I'm gonna pick Coach O. And
Okay.
I think because he has shorter hair and it's darker, I think he would do a really good job because he's also not great with English, dressing up as 11 from Stranger Things in the dress with Eggo waffles. Visual?
I'm just picturing Coach O in a dress eating Eggo waffles.
Well, blood on the nose. Yeah, because she doesn't talk a lot. And
Yeah.
he's just like,
Yeah. It's just
You
like
sound like
one
you just
one or
had a
two words at
stroke.
a time. But wait, so when
it would
we
be
first,
fun. And I think he would enjoy snacking on Eggo waffles.
so are we gonna do like the full 11 and he's gonna like shave his head completely, or
I think he
Just
can
go with
deal
it.
with like the shorter. Yeah,
short
but
hair.
I do want to see like pink dress and sweater and then like Eggos.
yeah? You just see him trick or treating.
I don't know why
Eggo.
my brain works this way. I have no idea.
Go Tigers! Oh
And then
man,
you can just see him being like,
Yeah.
with his hand out. That'd be fun.
yeah, I think so. I want to see that. I think everyone wants to see that now that you've said
Coach
it.
O, if you're listening, please.
If you're gonna dress up as something, that's what it needs to be. It's
11,
been
yeah.
settled. Matt, what do you got?
I hope I'm not going to bogart your pick, Wes. First off, Wes, tell me which coach you're going
think
with. Just tell me.
I'm
that
going
first.
with Lane.
Ah, dang it! That
Was it
the one I
really?
was gonna
No.
pick.
Okay. All right. Fine.
No.
Do you have a
got
backup?
I was gonna say,
Okay.
just feel it. Just
I
what
got a
happens.
couple.
Because I don't have a backup. That's what I said at like
Well-
4 o'clock this afternoon. So
I was gonna say that my pick would be Kirby Smart, and Kirby Smart would go to the Halloween party dressed like Nick Saban, so he can look like his dad.
you are not funny, my friend.
You knew I was going there. That was good stuff.
That was funny.
Good stuff right there. So he wants to look like a national championship winning head coach, so he's gonna dress like one. He's gonna listen to me now. This is how this is gonna go down.
So he's going to
He's
dress like
gonna-
a thinning haired leprechaun? That's what he's going to
He's
dress?
yes.
I am so sorry. I'm not, but I am.
He
Okay.
looks like a leprechaun.
He's a little guy.
Almost 70.
He's a little guy.
Here's-
He's like 5'9", 5'10".
Okay.
All right. So here's who it is. Kirby Smart's gonna come dressed as Nick Saban, so he
Okay.
can look like a national championship winning head coach.
Okay.
Jeremy Pruitt is gonna come dressed like Lou Holtz, so he can look like a national championship winning head coach.
Okay.
Will Muschamp is going to come dressed like a ninja so that he gets an emphasis on his crazy eyes.
Yes.
That's all you're going to be able to see.
That's what we need.
So I think that's a couple.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, so as you heard, I picked.
And then Mike Leach. Mike Leach is going to be a pirate. I mean, that's a
Obviously.
given.
He's Jack Sparrow. Done.
Okay.
Just I want to see like the eye makeup and the braided goatee. I need to see that.
Oh, Lord.
All right, so I went with Lane Kiffin, and when I said this, Jesse guessed my pick before I even said anything, and it's because I think everyone knows that Lane Kiffin would dress as Hugh Hefner the hef, because I think
Although
that
after that Scandi pick of Ed Ogeron, maybe he will too.
maybe, although in fairness, the picture was not with like a college girl. I think she was more his age, wasn't she?
No,
So-
she looked very young.
Was she really? Maybe I was
Yes,
just, maybe it was the lighting.
I have
Sorry.
questions.
Go ahead.
What the hell are we talking about?
Do you
That she-
remember on Instagram I sent the picture and it's like of shirtless Ed O with this like cute little blonde girl.
Yeah,
And
you
then
didn't see
dark-
that?
Nefarious
Listen, I'm
looking.
bad about checking Instagram, guys. Y'all gonna have to bear with me.
And it had the
screenshot.
caption,
Hold on.
"Go Tigers."
Oh my gosh, guys. Someone took that picture and they made like a video of it. And you know this song, I forget the rap song, but it's like, "Hey, little mama, let me whisper in your ear."
Oh gosh.
It starts that way. They took the beginning of that video, and then when it starts to get to that part, they put in Ed Ogeron in that picture, and they made his voice say that, and it's so funny.
Oh man.
No.
It also makes you like hurt and cringe, but it's funny.
Yeah.
I'm
I'll
looking
find
at it now and just oh no.
Fear not, friends.
No, I mean-
I will find it.
More power to Coach O, I guess. You know, he's single now. He's got a natty champ, whatever.
It was on
It's-
LSU Barstool.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's,
I think-
that's on brand for any Barstool Twitter account.
I think they
I
were
just
more or
sent
less
it to you guys.
bragging. I mean, it wasn't like a thing
Oh,
they
they
were trying to
absolutely
hide. Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, I wish we had it loaded onto this so we could play it. People go look at LSU Barstool on Instagram. It's there.
Yeah, you can show
guys-
the people on the video. You can show them the picture. I think.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see.
I really wish I could share my screen so you could see this. There's a picture of Bobby Petrino after his motorcycle accident, and the caption
Oh.
says Ed Ogeron at his next press conference.
I don't know if you
my-
people can see this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awful.
we can see
Sorry,
it.
Wes,
That's
we buried the lead. Wes, what was your pick?
Sorry.
You already told us.
Yeah, Kiffin. Yeah, he's the hef because, well, I don't think it needs any explanation if you know his history. Anyway, good old Joey Freshwater.
Is he wearing the silken panties on his face instead of a proper?
Probably.
Probably.
So
That's
that's the only
definitely-
attire that's extra for this costume. Obviously, he's got the velvet robe, the pipe, and then he has the panties on the face as the mask.
Yes.
So
Yes, I mean,
That's the-
as one would.
that
As
sets
Lane
it
would.
that sets it off. So okay, well I think that was a lot of fun. So all right, well that was fun overall. Just the whole video experience. I quite enjoyed it for the first time. So like I said, we'll get this uploaded to YouTube, a YouTube page which does not exist yet. I'll get on that as soon as we get done here. So. But in the meantime, if you would like to email us, hit us up at pigskinsandpageantry@gmail.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/pigskinsandpageantry. You can find us on Twitter at PPSEC Podcasts, and we are also on Instagram at Pigskins and Pageantry. Don't forget we are available for download on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and most podcasting apps for iPhone, Android, and other operating systems. And like I said, YouTube very shortly. So if you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and review. Give us a 5-star. We would love that and greatly appreciate that. So a lot of games coming up this weekend. I'm excited to have more than 4 games to talk about next week. So until next time, this is Wes. Go Dogs.
We got to sink this ship, Mike Leach. I am sorry, but roll tide.
Bye week's going down, brother. Gonna beat them bad. Have a good week, guys. Go Balls.
Happy Halloween!
That's right.
Yeah.